Rise of the Lycan Princess. Chapter 3. By late afternoon, they reached a gated entry that opened onto a sweeping driveway flanked by towering trees. The SUVs rolled forward, eventually revealing a sprawling estate, a grand residence of stone and timber, surrounded by vibrant gardens and guarded by an air of regal quiet. Narah felt her pulse quicken. Everything about this place exuded importance. Lycan cut the engine, turning to her with a serious yet kind expression. "We're here," he said softly. "Are you ready?" Narah took in a shaky breath, her eyes darting to the mansion beyond the windshield. "I'm not sure," she replied honestly, "but I'll try." He reached out, giving her hand a brief, reassuring squeeze. "Stay close to me. You won't be alone." They exited the vehicle, and Narah felt small under the high, arching trees. A few figures stood by the entrance, looking expectantly at them. From their polished appearance and confident postures, she guessed they held significant roles in this household. Her nerves roiled, but she forced her shoulders back, reminding herself that she had already endured a terrible humiliation in front of Caspian's entire pack. She could survive this too. Lycan led her across the wide gravel courtyard, introducing her to a tall man named Elias, who seemed to handle security, and a stately woman named Maris, who offered a gentle bow of greeting. Both gave Narah curious, evaluating looks as though trying to reconcile her disheveled, uncertain presence with whatever they had been told about her. They entered the main hall, its high ceilings and polished floors gleaming in the soft glow of chandeliers. Narah's heart thudded with each step, the grandeur reminding her how far she had come from her modest pack room. At the far end of the hall stood two figures, a man and a woman with an air of quiet authority. They turned at the sound of footsteps, and Narah's breath caught. The man was tall, his hair dark but streaked with silver at the temples, his bearing exuding strength and wisdom. The woman beside him was poised, her eyes shining with unshed tears as she saw Narah. The moment they locked gazes, Narah felt something shift in her chest, a strange tug at the edges of her memory. Lycan stopped a respectful distance away, placing a hand on Narah's shoulder. "Father, Mother," he said quietly, "I've brought her." The woman inhaled sharply, stepping forward. She looked at Narah as though she were a precious treasure restored. Her voice trembled. "Narah, my child." Narah's lips parted, but no sound came out. She felt tears rising to her eyes without warning. The man, the king, approached more slowly, his gaze flicking over her face, lingering on her necklace. A muscle in his jaw tightened as though he was containing a flood of emotion. For a moment, no one spoke. Narah realized she was trembling, stunned by the raw emotion on their faces. These people, this king and queen, were meant to be her parents. She thought of the times she sat alone, wishing someone would claim her, wondering why fate had abandoned her to an indifferent pack. Now the woman before her reached out, tears slipping down her cheeks, and gently touched the side of Narah's face. "My sweet girl," she whispered, "we never stopped hoping. We never gave up on you." Narah's heart twisted. She found herself leaning into the woman's touch, tears escaping her control. I don't know what to say. I didn't think I even had a family." The king cleared his throat, stepping closer. His voice, though deep, quivered with carefully checked emotion. "You were taken from us when you were so small," he said. "We feared the worst, but our hearts refused to believe you were truly gone. Forgive us for not finding you sooner." It was too much to process at once. Narah pressed a trembling hand to her mouth, unsure whether to weep or scream. She managed a single, shaky nod, acknowledging the swirl of feelings in her chest. Her mother, this elegant, regal woman, drew her into a gentle embrace, and Narah felt the warmth of genuine love for the first time she could ever remember. The king placed a comforting hand on her back, his voice tight with emotion. "Welcome home, my daughter," he said. "We have much to tell you, and we are sure you have many questions. But let us first be grateful that you are here. Safe. At last. Narah could hardly speak. She felt a mixture of awe, disbelief, and cautious relief. A fleeting memory tugged at the edges of her mind. A lullaby in a soft voice, a gentle presence in the dark. She cried, the tears tasting of both sorrow for the years lost and hope for what might be gained. Lucian stood by, a look of quiet triumph on his face, and the queen, her mother, held Narah close, as if fearful she would vanish again. For an instant, Caspian's cold rejection flickered through her thoughts, followed by the image of Cole's tearful goodbye. But as she clung to her mother, she felt a sense of belonging that made the pain feel ever so slightly more bearable. Perhaps life had taken everything from her in one moment, only to give her a chance at something new in the next. She pulled back, wiping her eyes, her emotions still swirling like a tempest. The king cleared his throat, offering a small, reassuring smile. "We will give you time to rest, to adjust, and to learn about your heritage," he said gently. "You will never be forced into anything. Your life is yours to shape as you wish." The queen brushed a stray tear from Narah's cheek. "We only ask that you allow us to show you the truth of who you are," she murmured. "You are our daughter, and we love you." Narah pressed a hand to her chest, feeling the necklace beneath her fingers. She met the king's eyes, then the queen's, and finally glanced at Lucian, who stood by with quiet anticipation. Taking a shaky breath, she realized that in a single day, her life had shattered and reformed into something she never thought possible. Though fear still whispered in the back of her mind, she heard the echo of Lucian's words. "It's time you knew who you truly are, sister." She let out a trembling exhale, giving the faintest smile. I want to learn," she whispered. "I want to understand." A look of relief and joy crossed her mother's face. The king nodded solemnly, and Lucian let out a breath he seemed to have been holding. Hope mingled with the lingering ache inside Narah's heart, forming a fragile possibility she dared not fully embrace yet. But it was something. It was a beginning she never imagined she would get. Her mother took her hand, guiding her deeper into the estate. Narah walked with them, unsteady yet determined, every step a mixture of trepidation and curiosity. Behind her, the memory of her old pack life receded like a distant nightmare. In its place rose a new journey, one where she might finally find a sense of belonging and learn the truth about her own hidden power. Caspian's scornful voice still echoed in her mind, a reminder of what she had endured. But now, that voice was overshadowed by the gentle murmurs of a lost family welcoming her home. Though the pain of betrayal lingered, the promise of discovering who she truly was, and perhaps someday shifting into the creature she was always meant to be, lit a small flame of hope in her soul. Narah's footsteps echoed faintly across the gleaming marble floor, her heartbeat thudding in her ears as she followed Lucian deeper into the Lycan royal estate. Her parents, the king and queen, walked at a measured pace on her other side, as though they feared moving too quickly might overwhelm her. Everything felt surreal. Only hours ago she had been an outcast from a pack that never valued her. Now she was traversing a corridor lined with stately portraits and polished mirrors, her own reflection glancing back with the same mix of astonishment and tentative hope. Despite the rush of new impressions, her mind raced with anxious questions. Every so often she glanced at Lucian, grateful for his calm presence. He offered a small, encouraging smile whenever their eyes met, silently telling her to keep going. She clutched the necklace at her throat, feeling its familiar weight. The quiet clink of the chain against her skin served as a tiny anchor amid this sea of unfamiliarity. Her parents guided her through a broad doorway into a spacious sitting room. The ceiling soared high above, supported by columns carved with intricate spirals. At one end, tall windows revealed a manicured garden and orchard outside. Warm afternoon light spilled in, illuminating plush couches arranged in a semicircle around a low table. The king motioned for Narah to sit, his regal gaze flicking from her face to the door behind them. as though ensuring no one else would intrude. "This space is more intimate than the main hall," he said quietly, clearing his throat. "We thought you might be more comfortable here, at least for these first few conversations." Narah swallowed and nodded. "Thank you," she managed. She lowered herself onto a couch beside Lycan. Her mother took a seat opposite, her composure trembling with emotion. The king settled next to the queen, one arm draped along the back of the couch in a protective gesture. Silence hovered for a few heartbeats. Narah inhaled, noticing the faint scent of jasmine drifting in through the windows. It reminded her of a dim memory, an evening in a lantern-lit courtyard, her mother's warmth, the rustle of silks. She tried to hold on to it, but it dissolved into the present moment. Her father spoke first. "I know you must have many questions. There is much we want to tell you, but we don't want to overwhelm you." A flood of questions tangled in Narah's thoughts. She grasped at the simplest one. "Why didn't you find me sooner?" she asked, voice shaking despite her effort to remain steady. Regret flickered across her mother's face. "When the outpost was attacked, you were very small. We had no clues, no sign of where you might have gone. We feared the worst, but we kept searching, hoping you were somehow alive." Lycan shifted beside Narah, lightly resting a hand on her arm in silent support. "I joined that search as soon as I was old enough," he said. "I tracked down every rumor, any mention of an orphaned wolf child. It was difficult. No one realized you were a Lycan because your wolf was bound by magic we suspect was put in place to protect you." Narah pressed her fingers against the cool metal of her necklace. "The pack told me I was just an orphaned Omega. They never mentioned any magic or possibility, that I was more than an ordinary werewolf." Her father's jaw tightened. "We believe that necklace of yours helped keep you hidden. There are wards woven into it, faint but distinct. If certain enemies had known you were still alive, they might have struck again." A quiver ran through Narah at the idea that someone would hate her parents enough to target a child. She wondered what it meant for her to keep wearing the necklace, or if she could ever safely remove it. Her mother leaned forward, voice gentle. "We will go slowly, Narah. You have been through so much, but you are finally home." Narah felt tears threatening. She nodded, too overcome to speak. The king exhaled, as though relieved there was no immediate crisis. He turned to Lycan. "Would you and Talia mind showing your sister around the estate this afternoon? She should see more of her home at her own pace." Lycan inclined his head. Of course, Talia has been waiting eagerly to meet Narah. Something in Lucian's voice lightened Narah's apprehension. She offered a small smile. "I'd like that," she said softly. The queen stood, her composure more certain now. "Good. In the meantime, I will have Maris prepare a suitable room for you. The estate can feel overwhelming if you're not used to it." Narah rose with them, following as they exited the sitting room. Servants in modest uniforms bowed, their eyes widening slightly upon seeing Narah. She tried to return their polite gestures, though she felt self-conscious. She still couldn't quite believe she belonged in this place. They soon encountered a slender woman with neatly coiled hair, who inclined her head respectfully to the queen, then looked upon Narah with warm curiosity. "This must be Narah," she said, her tone soft. "This is Maris," the queen explained. "She's been at my side for years. She will see to any comfort you need." Maris gave Narah a motherly smile. "I never thought I would see this day. Let me show you to your quarters, and make sure you have everything you require." The king and queen departed to tend to other matters, leaving Narah and Lycan with Maris. She led them up a curved marble staircase, past a high window that overlooked gardens and courtyards. After threading through a hallway of ornate doors, she paused at one with delicate carvings around the frame. Opening it revealed a suite with a large bed draped in soft linens, a small seating area near a hearth, and a window offering a lovely view of a fountain and rose bushes below. "I hope this suits you," Maris said gently. "It's near the center of the estate. Not too large, but comfortable." Narah stepped inside, absorbing the understated elegance. It's perfect, she murmured, feeling a surge of gratitude. She had never imagined sleeping anywhere so lavish. Maris dipped her head. If you need clothes, a bath, or just a quiet moment, call for me. She bowed gracefully, then left Narah and Lucian to explore the room. Narah glanced at Lucian, who watched her with compassion. It's so much, she whispered, the swirl of newness threatening to overwhelm her. Everything is the opposite of what I've known. He touched her arm reassuringly. You have time to adjust, I promise. No one expects you to know every custom overnight. She exhaled, nodding. They shared a moment of comfortable silence before Lucian cleared his throat. I'll leave you to settle in. But Father and I thought it would help if you explored the estate soon. Talia is waiting downstairs whenever you're ready. Narah thanked him, feeling a spark of curiosity growing. After freshening up, she joined Lucian in the corridor. They made their way to a sunlit foyer where a young Lycan woman stood. She had light brown hair pulled back in a practical style, her eyes bright with excitement. Talia broke into a smile at their approach. You must be Narah, she said. It's wonderful to finally see you. I'm Talia, a friend of the royal family. Narah gave a shy nod. Hello. I'm still trying to wrap my head around everything. Talia's expression was kind. I can't imagine how you feel right now, but I'm here to help in any way. Shall we go see the gardens? Relief flickered through Narah at Talia's friendly energy. They followed a cobblestone path into a courtyard where flowers bloomed in vibrant clusters and a small fountain gurgled gently. As they walked, Talia chattered about the different celebrations the Lycan court held: moonlit feasts, harvest festivals, and formal gatherings. Narah listened, half in awe, occasionally glancing at Lucian to see him nod in agreement. A short time later, they passed under an arch draped with climbing roses and reached a broad lawn, dotted with trees that provided welcome shade. Beyond lay the edges of the orchard. Talia led them toward a smaller structure near the orchard, a sheltered display area where relics and paintings told the history of the Lycan monarchy. Narah found herself captivated by the artwork, each depicting scenes of unity, battles, or coronations. She paused at one image of a stately couple clad in ceremonial robes, their fierce eyes hinting at extraordinary power. That's our great-grandmother and great-grandfather, Lucian said quietly. They united many smaller Lycan clans a few generations ago. Narah felt a pang in her chest, a mixture of pride and sadness at the family history she had never known. She moved closer, as though studying every brushstroke might fill in the gaps of her own story. Talia observed with a smile of encouragement. They continued onward, stepping through a lush orchard where the scent of ripening fruit sweetened the air. Narah paused to listen to the rustle of leaves, her thoughts drifting. A sudden memory tugged at her mind. A fleeting glimpse of children running through a courtyard, giggling as a woman's gentle voice called them back inside. She blinked, and the vision vanished, leaving her heart racing. Lucian noticed. Narah, are you all right? She swallowed. I think I recalled something. Maybe me and you, playing when we were little. His expression brightened. That's good, it means you're starting to remember. They wound past a cluster of willow trees, emerging onto a paved terrace that bordered a koi pond. The delicate chiming of small bells hung nearby made Narah pause. The airy melody brought another ripple of memory, faint, but enough to set her pulse fluttering. Talia laid a gentle hand on her shoulder. Take your time. This estate is filled with pieces of your past. They'll come back to you when you least expect it. Narah nodded, forcing a smile. She felt a flicker of excitement, imagining that each step might unlock more of who she had been. At the same time, she braced herself for the jarring realization that she had missed so much. They eventually headed toward a broad courtyard at the estate's rear. Here the air smelled of herbs and flowers, and the sunlight cast dappled patterns through the leaves. Footsteps approached from the opposite direction. A tall man, whose demeanor radiated discipline. His sharp eyes took in Narah, Lucian, and Talia. Elias, Lucien said, greeting him. We're just showing Narah around. Elias offered Narah a crisp nod. A pleasure to finally meet you. I serve as head of security for the estate. If you need anything, don't hesitate to ask. Narah caught an undercurrent of warmth behind his formal tone. Thank you, she said softly. I appreciate it. He nodded again. The king and queen have asked me to locate Celine. She'll want to speak with Narah as soon as possible. At the mention of Celine, Lucien's expression grew serious. Right, we should arrange that soon. Elias excused himself, leaving them to their tour. Talia explained in hushed tones that Celine was a mage who specialized in old spells and wards. Someone who might have answers about Narah's bound wolf. Narah's chest tightened with mingled fear and hope. They crossed another shaded walkway, Talia pointing out a distant stable where a few strong-bodied horses grazed. The conversation turned to more mundane topics, a small festival scheduled for the following week. Talia's love of dance. Lucien's friendly teasing about Talia's habit of sneaking pastries from the kitchens. By the time they circled back toward the main building, the sun had drifted lower in the sky. Lucien suggested they freshen up, then reconvene in the library to speak with their parents about next steps. Narah agreed, her head spinning with everything she had seen. Talia gave Narah's hand a quick squeeze before they parted, promising to meet again soon. Moments later, Narah and Lucien found the king and queen in a grand library, lined with towering shelves of books and scrolls. A gentle chandelier lit the room in a warm glow. The king gestured for them to sit around a circular table at the center. We've been discussing your wolf, he said to Narah, voice steady but kind. Celine knows more about the enchantment binding it than any of us. We'd like to meet with her and see what can be done. Narah's hand drifted to her necklace. I've wanted nothing more than to shift, she admitted, voice unsteady. It was such a source of shame back in the pack. Her mother's eyes shone with sympathy. It was never your failing, my love. We suspect the wards that hid you were turned into a prison by an external force. We must be sure to remove them safely. Before they could continue, the library doors opened. Elias stepped in, holding them for a woman who entered with measured grace. Dressed in understated robes, she carried an aura of calm authority. Her eyes were a pale shade, seemingly illuminated from within. Narah sensed an otherworldly energy around her. Celine dipped her head respectfully to the king and queen before turning her attention to Narah. It is good to finally meet you, she said, voice both gentle and confident. I have waited many years in the hope of your return. Narah swallowed hard, trying to steady the flutter in her chest. She rose and stepped forward, allowing Celine to approach. The mage touched the necklace lightly, closing her eyes as though reading the spells woven into the metal. The atmosphere seemed to hum, charged with quiet power. When Celine opened her eyes, her brow furrowed. The binding is more intricate than I anticipated. Your parents' protective wards are evident, but another, malignant thread is woven through them. It appears designed to suppress your wolf while hiding your true identity. A chill gripped Narah's spine. The king's voice hardened. Someone piggybacked on our wards with a dark enchantment? Celine inclined her head. It seems so. Breaking it abruptly could be dangerous. Not only might it harm Narah, but it could alert those who placed the curse in the first place. The queen's hands clenched in her lap. Then how do we free her? She deserves to awaken her Lycan side. Celine spoke slowly. We must do this carefully in stages. I will need to peel away the original wards and replace them with safer spells, all while isolating and unraveling the malignant thread. Any misstep could broadcast a beacon to the ones who tried to eliminate Narah all those years ago. They may still believe she perished. A tense hush fell. Narah felt Lucien's protective hand at her shoulder. We won't let them take her again, he said firmly. Celine sighed. I have studied curses and stealth bindings for decades. I believe we can do this, but Narah must prepare herself. Once the wards are lifted, her wolf may emerge suddenly, which can be physically taxing after being suppressed so long. Narah's pulse quickened, a blend of excitement and worry. She had often dreamed of what it might feel like to shift, to sense the moon's pull on her wolf. But if it came in a rush of raw power, she feared she might lose control. She found her voice shaking, though it was. "I want to do whatever it takes," she said. "But please, help me stay safe." Celine's gaze softened. "We will. Your parents, your brother, and I will support you through every step. I will consult with them to decide how soon we begin." The king approached, resting a reassuring hand on Narah's shoulder. "We'll be ready," he said. "And if these old enemies stir, so be it. We are stronger now than before." The queen nodded, though her eyes shone with worry. "We will protect you, daughter." Celine soon took her leave, carrying with her the solemn weight of responsibility. Elias guided her from the library, presumably to help gather resources. Narah sank back into a chair, exhaustion crashing over her. Talia laid a gentle hand on Narah's arm, though she had been quietly observing until now. Narah forced a shaky exhale. "I'm relieved there's a way forward, but it's terrifying." Her mother knelt beside her, voice trembling with love. "You've endured so much already. I promise we'll go step by step. You will not be alone." The king quietly suggested they all rest and speak more the next day. They filed out of the library, subdued. Lucian walked Narah back to her suite, where she collapsed onto the bed, mind spinning with everything she had learned. Her wolf was locked behind a malignant enchantment, and freeing it would be as delicate as disarming a hidden trap. That night she found herself thinking of Cole, the one who had shown her unwavering kindness back at the pack. She hoped he was safe, that perhaps he no longer faced the same scorn now that she was gone. Despite the comfort of her new surroundings, a pang of guilt tugged at her for leaving him behind in such a harsh environment. Far away, Cole wandered behind the pack house under a pale moon. Since Narah's departure, the atmosphere had grown cold. The lower-ranked wolves spoke of her in hushed tones, recalling how she alone had cared for them. Caspian offered no explanation, merely continuing with pack business. Cole's anger and sorrow simmered beneath the surface. He paused in a small clearing where a few Omegas gathered, their eyes full of fear and frustration. They asked if he had heard from Narah, if he knew where she might have gone. He admitted he knew nothing, bitterness tainting his voice. He wished only for her happiness. She deserved that much after the cruelty she endured. The others nodded, sharing whispers of possibly leaving the pack themselves, seeking a kinder life. No one, however, had the courage or resources to act yet. When Cole returned to his bunk, he silently vowed that he would keep Narah's memory alive among the lower ranks, reminding them that kindness and empathy existed beyond Caspian's rule. Perhaps, he hoped, she had found safety in a life free from judgment. Meanwhile, Narah awoke in the estate to the first glow of morning. She dressed slowly, marveling at the soft clothes Maris had set out. Peering through her window, she saw the estate grounds bathed in dawn light. Guards patrolled with disciplined confidence, and the orchard glistened with dew. Maris knocked gently and entered with a tray of breakfast. Narah thanked her, nibbling on fresh fruit and warm bread as she watched the day unfold outside. Lucian arrived soon after, greeting her with a friendly nod and telling her that Talia planned to show her the library's hidden alcoves later. Narah agreed, though her heart remained heavy with thoughts of the unbinding. Each bite of breakfast tasted of both promise and uncertainty. By midday she found herself once again summoned, this time to a small dining room near the eastern wing of the estate. The king and queen awaited her, along with Lucian and Talia. They spoke of upcoming gatherings, carefully gauging how best to introduce Narah to the wider Lycan nobility. Narah listened, unsettled by the notion of standing before so many watchful eyes as the lost princess. Still, she recognized the importance of establishing her rightful place. They ended the discussion with quiet consensus. It would be a slow, measured approach. All the while, Narah's mind returned to Selena's words about the layered binding. She wondered if those lurking enemies might already sense her presence. An irrational chill crawled over her skin, as though a distant gaze was fixed upon her. That evening they gathered in a smaller lounge where a gentle fireplace cast flickering warmth on the walls. The king confirmed that Celine was preparing the first steps for the unbinding, and that within a week, Narah could begin. She nodded, feeling both relief and fear. Lucian offered a joking comment about how she might soon outrun even him once her wolf was free. Talia chimed in with supportive enthusiasm, promising to help Narah train. Her parents watched with subdued pride, clearly overjoyed that their daughter was finally part of their lives again. Later, as Narah retired to her suite, she lingered by the window, gazing up at the moon. A strange longing stirred in her chest, more intense than anything she felt back in the old pack. She placed a hand on the glass, imagining the night air brushing her skin, beckoning her to run under the moon as a Lycan freed from all burdens. In that silence, she let herself dream that the day would come when she could take her rightful place in this family without guilt or fear. Drifting to sleep, she dreamed of half-remembered lullabies in a swirl of silver light. She saw flickers of old corridors, a gentle voice calling her name, and the shadow of a great wolf prowling protectively at her side. Though the dream made little sense, she sensed a fierce undercurrent of hope. If she could reclaim her past, perhaps she could forge a future for herself and prove that no malignant enchantment could contain her spirit forever. When dawn arrived, she woke with her pulse thrumming, determined to face whatever challenges lay ahead. The day might come when old foes rose to threaten her once more, but she would not meet them as the powerless Omega the pack had deemed her to be. She would be Narah, princess of the Lycans, and for the first time in her life, she believed she was worthy of the name.